then strangely, after Noah, we talked about some of the concepts of water and the ark, and that there's similarities between the time of the flood and the time of the ascension, as we're talking about 2012 and destruction of the earth. But we said we wanted to focus not on calamity and destruction, but what are the deeper, more spiritual meanings behind this? Because if you understand the story in context, then you don't fear the destruction or the changes. And the more you understand things in context and the more you don't fear the changes, the less the fear and the chaos affect the overall vibration and resonance of the earth, and the more smooth sailing we have through the process. Right, brothers and sisters? We all kind of know this, especially my brothers and sisters who call themselves light workers, but I want you to pay attention to the concepts as we're going on. So we said we're talking about Noah and the concept of the ark and saving humanity on an ark or ships or craft, and now we're also talking about this concept that people are bringing more and more to the open of first contact or craft coming into the skies of the earth, or open sightings of alien craft and beings, or that to save mankind, visitors from other places are going to come, or brethren of the light are going to come. And so that concept kind of runs in there. One of the interesting concepts we talked about was that there are pure water channels within the salt water. Well, as above, so below is a common concept of balance that we know. And so the same way that there are waters separating as seas the lands of the earth, similarly, there are seas of space separating planets within the galaxy and the universe. And just as much as there are pure water streams within the seas of the ocean, there are pure water traveling channels within the seas of space. As above, so below. Well, as below, so above. You see, the balance goes both ways. And so we're going to be talking about some interesting concepts here. I just wanted to throw that one out there since you could see how that relates to the time of Noah and some of the interesting things we talked about. But what happens after Noah is that various races take up different stands with what to do with humanity, and a process gets enacted again where most of the beings of the light stay away from humankind, because they realize that to interfere with mankind before their process of evolving spiritually to the level of understanding would continue to lead to an improper balance, or a break in resonance, or the fabric, or the proper dissemination of light. You see, because many times people with noble intentions try to do something that was not based on the pattern. And even with the noble intentions, it didn't go according to divine decree, and therefore ended up resulting in greater chaos. And we see that before the time of Noah. But we understand some interesting concepts, that there were beings of other dimensions interacting with the sons of man, and even sexually interacting with the sons of man. And something strange about what has to happen, even according to my Christian brothers, sisters, is that just like the time of Noah, so shall be the return of the Son of Man, referring to my brother Isa, Jesus, son of Mary. He even referring to himself as a son of man in that most noble status, and his return, saying that mankind in their highest form, referring to it then. But there's an interesting piece of information there referring to the idea that mankind would be interacting with some of the beings from the other dimensions, both human and otherwise, before the return of our brother Jesus, son of Mary, or the second coming, as we might call it. And if we're looking at 2012, or this coming change, as people like to call it, this coming shift in understanding, first with the concepts of dark rift or a coming enlightenment, then we see that the idea that that is related to the flood implies that first contact, and well, not first contact, but open contact, once again, should happen before those changes. That's interesting. Did I just say that? Yes, I did. The text suggests, both biblically and otherwise, and even from the Quran and a proper understanding of the time of Noah, that contact with other races, that we would call the jinn or other beings, and human of the flesh like us from other places, would occur before the changes that we're talking about. Why that is important, we'll get to later on in the story. But for right now, I want you to see that many of the races try to do different things, and we'll be understanding more of this in greater detail. But I want you to realize that many of the civilizations that we call humans on Earth have come from many other planets in the universe. And many of the tribes and ancient people from all over the world have been seeded into this planet. And they were taught to maintain their culture and the stories of their ancestors and their original scriptures and live here in peace, and told to maintain the stories of their ancient ones and wait for the time of the changes. And you see this story played out in all of their scriptures from many of the ancient communities all over the earth. Similar understandings of beings from the stars, a similar understanding of the Great Flood, a similar understanding in each their own unique way of communing with nature and the environment and reading the patterns and signs, a deeper spirituality and oneness as a community, and a common thread that there is going to be a similar change for all of mankind, and that there are common signs to that coming. And that many of the brothers and sisters from many communities talk about both communities within the earth and communities upon the earth and communities up above in the heavens. And so understanding that many communities with various different genetic bloodlines and ancestry were then placed on the earth and formed colonies and their own civilizations, slowly getting us to the point that we're in right now, where great mixing occurs and an awakening happens. But I'm getting too far ahead of myself. You see, we have to go back to right after the time of Noah, where darkness again is upon the earth. And even though many of these communities have been seated in, the idea that any beings of light are upon the earth is no longer there. And the houses of the Lord are gone. And the noble messengers are being ignored. And the flood has occurred, and the earth has repopulated itself, and civilizations are beginning to grow.